What is up, everyone? Welcome to It's Been a Week. I'm your host, Ben McDonald, and this is your weekly dose of whatever the hell just happened. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to It's Been a Week. You know, this week has been pretty great. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, what the hell? This ugly bitch, which you guys all know, Kim Davis. And if you don't remember her, she was the one that denied the same-sex couple marriage, like their marriage license, and she went to jail and whatever. She's all against the gays, right? So this ugly toad comes across my feed this morning, and I'm just like, what? She's like a cockroach. Like, she just will not go away. And I'm looking at her and I'm just like, what is this woman so concerned with the gays? Like, does she own a mirror? Has she looked at herself? Like, this woman has much bigger issues to worry about than two dudes trying to get married. Okay. Like, this woman, like, if you look at her, it's like she lives in a double wide. Her diet consists of Cheetos and Pepsi. And you know, she has like 3 guinea pigs like in the same cage in her living room, and she maybe cleans that cage once a month. I can look at her and I can smell her home. Like, I think she needs to wake up and take a multivitamin because she's clearly deficient in multiple things. Like, her hair is like, it looks like it's brittle and falling off. I mean, she looks like a mole rat that has crawled out of the ground. So I think this woman just needs to, like, literally fuck off. I don't understand what her obsession with homosexuals and gay marriage. It's like, yeah, you could be a walking billboard for owning a Subaru. Okay. Like, again, really? And I just don't understand, I guess, what this country's obsession is with gay marriage. Like, let it, who cares? Like, it's this whole thing too with, like, they're banning all these books and getting all this stuff. I don't know who needs to hear this. Being gay is not contagious. You don't catch it. But learning about gay people does not make you gay or want to be gay. Like, I've been around straight people my whole life. Guess what? Not going to be straight. Like, it doesn't work that way. So I think these people with the fear around it, it's like, is it because deep down maybe you have some of those desires? I don't know. It's mind-boggling that it's 2025 and that this is even still a topic of conversation. Like, why? Who cares? I'm too busy in life to care what other people are doing. I don't understand why people care so much what someone else is going to do. And if don't even get me started on religion, but if it's against your religion, let's just say, hypothetically, okay, don't be gay. If it's against your religion, then don't do it. Why do you care? Why do you feel like you have to instill your rules from this magical book onto other people? Who cares what they're doing? If you think that they're not going to get into heaven for being gay, let them have at it. If you think it's against your religion, then guess what? Don't be gay. It's very simple. I think it's crazy how much politics and religion are meshing together, why we base how we, live in this country based on one religion, which, by the way, there's multiple people of different religions and backgrounds in this country. But, it is what it is. So the LGBT community once again is under attack because of ugly toads like Kim Davis that, want to rear their ugly head. And it's like, I don't know. I think she just, beyond needing a shower, like, I don't know, just needs to get laid. I guess that's the only answer I guess I could come up with. All right, let's move on and talk about better, more happy, fun things. Okay, have you guys seen the new Happy Gilmore? So I grew up watching, Adam Sandler, Ben Stiller, Will Ferrell, Jim Carrey. Like, those were my movies, right? So Happy Gilmore was such a good movie. Happy Gilmore 2 recently came out on Netflix, and I think that they did an amazing job. Some people are like hating on it, which then I also found out some of my friends were like, well, they didn't even see the first one, which, how do you not see the first Happy Gilmore? And the thing about Happy Gilmore 2, it is such like 90s humor. It is made like, there's so many nods to the original movie. There's so many cameos. I thought it was incredible. So comedy movies, really were in my childhood, like what inspired me to be an actor. And one of those movies also was Dodgeball. I mean, if everyone has seen Dodgeball, it has iconic lines from it. It's so funny. And my guest this week happens to be the writer and director of Dodgeball. So what's funny is I became friends with his wife. And fun fact, I met his wife the exact same day I met AJ. And so I was friends with them. And then obviously I met her husband and we become friends. And I knew him for a while before I even knew that I was been such a fan of his work. So that it's just kind of funny because now we've traveled all over together and he's awesome. So first of all, shout out to Sarah. Hello. And second of all, Rawson, I have to say this, if you're listening, mahalo for coming on. It's been a week. So that's an inside joke for everyone who is probably like, why the hell is he saying mahalo? But it's funny. You just don't understand why. I'm so excited for you guys to hear this. Let's get into it. Okay, everyone. I am so excited for my next guest. He and I have pretty much traveled the world together. Actually, we've been to Hawaii and the Caribbean and Paris. And he just happens to be a writer and director of some of Hollywood's biggest blockbusters, including We're the Millers, Central Intelligence, Skyscraper, Netflix's Red Notice, and one of my favorite movies of all time, Dodgeball. Everyone, please welcome Rawson Marshall Thurber.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast. How has your week been?
Thank you. It's been a week. It's been a great week. I'm working on my next movie, which is a live action version of an animated series I loved as a boy called Voltron. I'm making it for Amazon and MGM, and we're in editorial right now. I just finished my director's cut period, and am working away in the salt mines of editorial, trying to make the movie great.
Well, I know that you are extremely, extremely busy, so thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure.
I want to take things back a little bit because I know, you have worked on some of the biggest movies, but being a director and a writer, like that does not come easy and it does not come overnight, which I know that. So I want to talk about like, where did you get started? How did you get started? And when were you like, this is the career path that I want to go down?
Sure. I think I could always write from a pretty young age. I grew up in a family where both my folks were pretty big readers, so there's lots of reading in our house. But they also loved movies, and movies were important. So I remember some of my earliest memories are my mom taking me I went to see Raiders of the Lost Ark with her. She took us out of school to see Return of the Jedi. So the movies always had an important place in our family. And whenever we would see a film on the way home, the drive home, my mom would always ask us, what was our favorite scene? And I started to think about movies as scenes. And once you start to think about movies as scenes, then it's not too far of a jump to go to authorship. Somebody had to write that. Someone had to think of that scene, right? And so that's kind of, I think, where it started for me. And, and then my folks divorced when I was pretty young, and I'd spend a lot of summers with my dad, and we'd spend most of those summers in the movie theater. And we'd go see a movie and he'd fall asleep next to me and I'd watch the film. And that was kind of that. So I'd always loved movies from a young age. I could always sort of write. And then I think I always kind of had an opinion of how things should be done. And so that kind of lended itself to directing. I went to school in a small school in upstate New York called the Union College, a tiny private school in Schenectady, New York, and they didn't have a film program, but they had a theater program, and I was sort of a double major, English and theater arts. I took my first directing class there at Union College, and I just loved it. I loved thinking about how to stage something and how to communicate an idea, and it's something I fell in love with really quickly. And they didn't have any kind of a film program, so I had to invent my own film club, and misappropriated some college funds to buy a camera and make a short film, and that was kind of it. I started there, and then kind of kept going. I grew up with parents who never told me I couldn't do something. They were really supportive. My family wasn't a "who do you think you are" family. It was "you can do anything" family. Like, why not? Why? Yeah, absolutely. And so I kind of grew up thinking that I could. because of that support. And my mom was a pretty easy laugh. So she would laugh at anything I would do. So I thought I was funny. And so I think that's really, I owe it to my folks mostly is how I kind of fell into this. And then I just love movies and could write a little bit.
I think half the battle actually is, especially in the entertainment industry, is believing in yourself. Because, there's
Yeah.
so many people that are going to tell you no, or you can't do it, or you're crazy. So if you can go into it already with the confidence of like, yeah, why not me? I feel like that's
Yeah.
probably half the battle.
Absolutely, Ben. I think that yeah, you have to have a certain amount of healthy delusion to kind of get past that initial that initial threshold. Uh, Otherwise, why would anybody ever try to do this? It's really hard, and the chances of success are very, very slim. And it's mostly failure and rejection and pain.
Yes.
But and so it's not. I would recommend any other path. If you can find happiness anywhere else. I just don't have any other skills. Like this is kind of it. So if it's not this, I don't know what I would do.
Being an actor, I have people all the time that are like, I'm thinking about it, or I want to do that. And I always tell people, like, if you want to do it, do it. But it has to be like, you go to sleep thinking about it, you wake up thinking about it, you dream it. It's got to be everything. Because if you're kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like it is going to eat you alive.
And what you do is, first of all, I could never act. What you're able to do, I can't do. But the way in which you have to get your first few jobs is just brutal. Like you have to go out so vulnerable, and you can be not chosen, or you're mostly going to be not chosen. Right? There's one role for one person in one film, and it's just the amount of rejection, and it must feel personal, right? Because you're putting your face out there, and it's like, oh, your eyes are too big, your ears are too small, he's too tall, he's too short, not he's a terrible actor, he's too good, he's too handsome, he's not handsome, and just a million things. And I just, boy, oh boy, I have 3 kids, and my eldest keeps threatening to want to be an actor, and she's 9, and it just it horrifies me. Like I just wouldn't wish it on anybody. So good on you.
I mean, you definitely have to have thick skin, because you do hear all those things you said. And you can work on your talent as much as you can, but then there comes a point where there's things you can't help. Like you're too tall, you're too good looking, your nose is too big, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say I would never want to be like, you wouldn't want to be an actor, and you can't imagine, because I can't imagine, first of all, being a writer. Like I've thought about that before when I watch movies. I'm like, where do you, page 1? Like I wouldn't even know where to start. Like that to me sounds way crazier. And also being a director, like, to be an actor in a movie, there's usually at least, 100 roles they got to cast, even if it's big or small, but there's only one director. So
Yes.
the competition, I would say, is it's super hard to become a successful actor, but it's just as hard, if not harder, I think, to be a successful director, because there's only one per movie.
That's a fair point. And it's not for everybody, but it's also the greatest job. Like it's the greatest job. Unless it's not, and then it's the worst job.
Yeah.
but mostly it's great, and you have so many people who are there to support you and help you tell your story and bring your vision to life. And if I have found, if you are willing to accept that collaboration from incredibly talented people, it can be a wonderful, wonderful experience. And that's been my experience. This last movie I made is the best experience I've ever had. We were down in Australia on the Gold Coast, and we had an incredible crew, an incredible cast, and a super supportive studio. And it was just a dream experience. But the directing side of it is a lot. You have to you have to love it. And one of the biggest differences they don't quite tell you on the brochure when you're like, I want to be a director, is how long it takes and what the commitment has to be, right? Because you get cast as the strapping young cowboy at the bar, and you take your time to think about what a strapping cowboy at a bar would be like, and you do your work on the script and the character and the backstory, and you come in, and we're shooting 5 days of this scene, and you do your best and you nail it, and then you ride off into the sunset, literally or figuratively, onto your next role. and I shoot the next scene and the next scene and the next scene. And then I'm cutting the movie and I'm in editorial for 3 months to 4 months to a year on this movie, and I'm staring at your face for months and your choices on that day for months. And I work and work and thread and thread and thread. I get to make, if I'm doing it, because I write all my own stuff, and so, or at least rewrite it. So I'm working on the movie for at minimum 3 years. Uh, and I get to make one movie every 3 years, and that's if I'm killing it. If I'm hand one card after the next, it's one every 3 years if I'm lucky. So the choices that I make are really different than an actor, just out of necessity, right? Actors can, as they should, they play different roles, different characters. They can do 6 movies a year. They can do 3 movies a year, and that's just not the same choice that I'm making. I'm making a choice of, do I love this enough to pour everything I have into it for 3 years? And that there are not a lot of ideas like that. So for me, it's a pretty high bar, and that's the threshold. Like, is this a thing that I want to work on and live with? Because it doesn't, because there are dark days, there are long hours shooting. You're in editorial and the second act isn't working or the opening isn't right, and you've got to love it. And you've got to love it and believe in it in a way that's all the way back to what we were talking about originally, delusional, to some degree.
Definitely some delusion for, anyone who works in entertainment. And I think
sure.
too, there's, things we don't think about. There's so much more pressure on your shoulders than, like you said, for an actor. Like, I show up and I'm doing, I'm not coming up with dialogue. I'm doing the script. This is what I've been told to do. Whereas, like you said, you're having to do not only my dialogue and make sure it's going correctly, but every actor that's in the movie. How is the lighting? How is the sound? How are the special effects? How is it getting cut? How is it, like, there's so many moving parts. And like you just said, I never even thought about, like, you're committing to 3 years. I just shot a commercial a couple weeks ago. I showed up, I was there for 2 days, boom, 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 done. But they're still editing it. They're still working on it. Like, even that's just a commercial. But like, I can't imagine that you, like you said, you're dedicating 3 years of your life, and there's a lot of pressure on your shoulders.
Absolutely. I think that I've made super big budget movies, and I've made relatively smaller budget movies, and it's all the same thing, right? Like, you're 0 for 0 every time you step up to the plate, and the people who are entrusting you with these many millions of dollars expect a hit every time, and that's what you want. You want a story that works, that connects with people, that either makes them cheer or laugh or cry or whatever you're trying to do. And so there is a lot of pressure. The only thing that I've been able to do to help myself in that is, I don't really think about that part, because there's nothing I can do about that part, right? Thinking about the pressure doesn't help me tell a better story, right? It's always the same. The job doesn't change, whether it's $100 million movie or a $10 million movie or a $1 million movie, right? You're trying to tell the best story, and that's the only thing you can control. So that's what I try to do, is kind of tune that part of it out and work as hard as I can on telling the best story I can and improving it, and not taking good enough as good enough. Trying to make every moment great. So the pressure side is for real. It's always there. And if you focus on that, I think you're focusing on the wrong thing.
Right. And for, like, for an actor, we start out doing whatever role we can get, right? Like, whoever's willing to put us in front of a camera, like, we'll do it. And then you start to build, and then you build, and then you get bigger. And then, you hope you get to that point where you, quote unquote, make it. So for you, like you said, you did smaller films to big films. Like, we obviously know the big films. How long did it take you to get to a point where you're doing these, multi-million-dollar budget films and huge movies? And like, because obviously, like I said in the beginning, I'm assuming does not happen overnight.
No, it doesn't. I got very fortunate with my first film, Dodgeball. It's something I wrote. I think back to the beginning of our conversation. If I couldn't write, I don't think I would have the career that I've had so far. I think that's a critical component to it. I wrote Dodgeball. I knew it left, right, and center. I wrote however many 25 different drafts of that screenplay, and Ben Stiller read it and believed in me, and backed me. And had he not, who knows if I would ever have a career. But he believed in me. He believed in the story. And when you're a first-time filmmaker, you're so green, like you don't know what you don't know, and how could you, right? And so you're mostly trying to not get fired, and you're trying to tell the best story you can. And you don't have edict on your side, right? Like I couldn't say on Dodgeball, I couldn't say, trust me, I've done this before, and this is how it works, right? I've never done it before, and so the only thing I had on my side was that I knew the script better than anybody because I wrote it and I knew it backwards and forwards, and I knew why this joke worked or why this setup would pay off here, and if we changed this, et cetera, et cetera. So you come from a place of if you're trying to change something, you can express yourself and you can talk about the intent of it and why this works or why it doesn't. And that's really the only leg you have to stand on. But you don't know what you don't know, like I said. And I think for directors at least, there's a brotherhood, a camaraderie that once you've directed a feature film, whether it's $1 million feature film or $100 million feature film, you're in the club. And that's why most directors, when they meet each other, they're more likely to embrace than anything else because you've suffered the same trauma. You understand what it is, right? In a way that you just simply can't if you haven't done it. And so, like for instance, whenever directors call each other to ask about, usually actors, it's an unwritten rule that directors tell each other the truth about working with particular movie stars or actors, because we know how hard it is if you get in a position where it's the wrong relationship. So for me, the writing side is what opened the door to the directing side. And it never really occurred to me to do it any differently. Like I'm trying to tell a story, like the idea of writing a story and handing it to some other person to execute doesn't make any sense. It didn't make sense to me then, doesn't make sense to me now. One of my favorite filmmakers of all time is a filmmaker named Preston Sturges. He was one of the first writer-directors in Hollywood. It used to be writers and directors were separate, and he was one of these first sort of singular voices. And I think that in my opinion, there's a difference between a director for hire and a writer-director. They're certainly different skill sets, but also I think there's also something to be said for a director who's taken the blank page, as you were talking about earlier, from nothing to release in theaters. It's a whole different experience than I think being a director for hire. Not less than or more than, just it's a different a thing.
Before we go into the next part, I do want to talk for a minute about Dodgeball. Sure. Because that movie, like in my opinion, like they don't make comedy movies like that anymore. Like they're like growing up for me, it was like, Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey, Will Ferrell, sure. Ben Stiller. And it was, I remember, I still to this day quote, I'll tell people like, we're better than you. And we know it. Like we still, there's so many lines in that movie. Like, you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Like, yeah. How did you come up with that? Again, back to like sitting at the computer, square one. Like, where do you just be like, okay, and opening scene, like I would have zero idea. I'd be like, Ben Stiller walks in and says, hello, period. Like how my brain does not work that way. Like, how did this Dodgeball even come to be?
Sure. Well, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. I remember, sitting in my crappy duplex apartment off of Melrose, writing that into my, I think, black and white laptop, at the time. So yeah, where do the words come from? That's a great question and timeless one. I think it's, I think every writer worth his or her salt has a voice in their ear, an inner monologue, and when I'm writing, I'm playing all the parts. I'm playing all the parts. So I play your strapping bar cowboy, and I play the bartender you're talking to. I write them. I envision the scene in my mind on the little movie screen on the inside of my forehead, how I'm going to cut it, what the pace is. And I basically play that scene out and I type it in as few words as I possibly can. And that's part of it. So it's not a pretty thing. I'm like, alone in a room trying to make myself laugh, rewriting, and I'm hearing it in my ear. My wife will, when I'm working on something, and she'll catch me just sort of muttering to myself in kind of a spooky, fugue state. She's learned to like leave me alone at that time, but it is that thing, I think, for most writers, where you're embodying these characters, and that's why it can be tricky. And I've gotten better at this. It can be tricky when you're directing a scene where you've played all the parts and everybody's there and they're performing it for you and for the film, where you're not hearing it the way that you heard it in your ear when you wrote it. An actor is delivering a line, with the emphasis on the wrong syllable, right? Like they're not doing it the right way, or in finger quotes the right way. And for a long time, that would kind of be like a fork on a chalkboard to me. And I've gotten better at kind of loosening the reins a little bit and letting that interpretation kind of come through, and trusting the actors a little. They're not being so annoying about the specific intonations that I'm looking for, because I've just been in the editing room enough to know that like usually the actor's right. Usually, because they're living in it. And I've had actors come up to me and go, "Oh, I was thinking maybe I should, hug him here." And I'm like, "That's a terrible idea." Great, let's try it. And then I'm so grateful in the editing room when they've done it, because I'm like, "Oh, of course they should be hugging there. What was I thinking?" So, so the words come from someplace, deep in your inner mind, and you just kind of try to trust that voice. And we can talk about voice whenever you'd like, but that's a part of it. And when you sit down and you're like, "I don't know what somebody's going to say," that's a good sign that you shouldn't write. And I recommend that you don't, if you don't feel it like that. That doesn't mean you're not, gifted in other ways or can't tell stories, but if it's not coming to you like that, like it's not worth banging your head against the wall, because it's not easy.
I mean, I've never really attempted it because it's never, come up. But, when we get, I get scripts every week for auditions. And like I've said, it really is about the white space on the page. And it's trying to, because at the end of the day, as an actor, I'm just doing interpretations, and I'm trying to do what the writer is wanting. And sometimes, I'm like, gosh, can't they just like write a little note on the side? Like, this is what we want. And then there's times where it's like, because we have to try to figure out what you want without reading. Like, yes, we read the dialogue, of course, but like, it's all what's not written in the dialogue, the nuances and how it's the relationships between the characters and what's happening. Because even when you talk in real life, the way we speak to people and what we say, sometimes you mean something totally different than what you're actually saying. And there's inference, and there's all these things.
I would say almost exclusively, like what you're talking about, of course, subtext, and that's the most important part of writing. That it's very, very rare in your daily life that you tell somebody exactly how you feel, right? It's very rare. And it takes a certain set of circumstances for that to come out. Now, obviously, television, film, commercials, this is not real life. And so there are, expediencies that have to be, employed to kind of give information and plot and character and all that stuff. But the subtext is everything. And how you say hello is, you can say that in 36 different ways. How you say yes, how you say no, how you say I love you, how you say I hate you. Like, these are all the way that you say those things. It has nothing to do with the actual text, right? It has to do with the context and the subtext. That's the whole game. And part of what you try to do when you're writing is to make the subtext shine through. So most of those like old school Merchant Ivory films, or any sort of like Jane Austen picture, any sort of chamber drama from the 18th century chamber drama, it's all subtext, right? Like, everybody's prim and proper and saying the right words, but she can't say I love you, and she can't say she's unhappy that he's going to marry the rich heiress instead of her, and that's the part that rips your heart out, because you know what's really being said, and they can't speak to each other, and he would just say I love you instead of thank you or goodbye. Like, that would change everything. That's the good stuff.
Then the movie be over.
Movie's over. I can't have it. So, but that's part of it. Subtext and context is the whole thing versus the text. The text is the window dressing.
Yeah.
and how you as an actor deliver those lines and the choices that you make in your auditions are really, really important. And when I'm looking at auditions, have you ever been on the other side of the table? Have you ever cast anything? Have you ever been on?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. What was that experience like for you?
Very, very mind opening. Because it was I was doing the short film, and I've never been on the other side, and I was like, wow, you really start to see things like watching people make choices, or things that really are annoying, or things that this was but pre-COVID, so this was not self-tape. This was people actually coming
Yeah.
in to the room,
Yeah.
and it was part of it was really fun because you get to see. You're watching the same scene over and over and over, and you're seeing
Yeah.
all these different choices and different things people are doing. And then
Yeah.
you also see like then I would also see like clearly because my friend was the writer of it. And I was like, here's a mistake we made because everyone's making the same mistake over and over and over.
Yes.
So it's not
Yes.
landing clearly. Like we
Yeah.
thought, oh yeah, of course it means this. But I'm like, 15 people came in and did it incorrectly. So something's not
Yes.
connecting.
Yes. It's the writing you have to fix, right? If that's the
Yeah.
case. No, you're exactly right. And you see people come in and the choices are all the same and the read is all the same and the pause and intonations are all the same. And sometimes that's right and sometimes it's wrong, but it's not interesting usually. And then someone will come in and just knock you out, and that's the right person. And that's the part that I think a lot of actors, I think, if they haven't been on the other side of the table casting something, don't understand that every time, for me, and I know this is true for other directors, every time the door opens and an actor walks in to read the scene for you, or you click on the self-tape link that your casting director sent you, every single time you're hoping that's the person.
This is the
Right?
one.
This is the one. So you're pulling for everybody, at least for the first 2.5 seconds. Like you're like, I want this to be because that's all you want. You want you want the incredible actor to kill this part. You're rooting for them more than they're rooting for them to get the job. And then there are things where like, they come through the door and you almost immediately like, oh, can't be this person. Nope. And then like they have the job when they walk through the door and they can just start to lose it from the moment you see them. We're like, oh, this is just the totally wrong look, or the performance starts to not be right or whatever. But mostly you want them to be great. You want them to, because first of all, casting, auditioning sucks and nobody likes it. And it's a weird process. And it's so, it almost has nothing to do with acting in a weird way.
It's terrible. It's the worst.
Everybody hates it, right?
Yeah.
Everybody on both sides. And
Yeah.
we just haven't come up with a better way of finding the right people so far. It's only been 150 years, so maybe we'll figure it out.
Maybe AI will come up with a better way.
Maybe. So at any rate, but I'm so glad you had that experience, Ben, because you understand now what it looks like on the other side, and I'm sure it'll help you in your tapes and in-person auditions that you do.
It's funny because so many people. Well, I usually tell people I'm a professional auditioner, not a professional actor, because like, I've talked about this before on the podcast too. Like I save every audition I've ever done. I have like a hard drive on my computer. So the other day it tells you I had over 400 auditions, and I was like, if I count how many of those I've actually booked, it's probably 15, 20. So people have no idea how much. And for each audition I get, it's not like you get it, okay, let's go. It's like it is hours of like dissecting, looking at this. What is the writer trying to tell in the scene? What is the point of the scene? Why am I in the scene? What do I want out of the scene? So people always like, I can't believe you memorize all those lines. I'm like, that honestly is the easiest. I wish it was just memorizing lines, because that would be so easy. It would be that's nothing. It has nothing to do with memorizing lines. But by the time you've read the script or the sides as many times as I have and gone through it, they're ingrained, like they're in your brain. It's not even a thing about memorizing.
So when you're doing self tapes, which is kind of almost the only thing that's done now, and then I'll tell you a quick little story that hopefully will give you hope. Is do you ever send like, here's a warm read, here's a cold read, right? In terms of performance, like here's one where it's a little stronger, here's one that's a little softer. Do you send like 2 or 3 interpretations of the scene, or do you just pick one and say this is the one? I hope.
So I have a few things on that. First of all, I used to hate self tapes. before. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, because you don't get to go in, you don't get to, have that, like you said, that energy of when you first walk through the door, which makes or breaks it. But now I love self-tapes because I'm able to live in Texas and I'm auditioning every week in LA, New York, Atlanta, all over.
Yeah.
And so that part's amazing.
Mm.
But the hard part is, so every casting director has different, like they give you pretty much a set of what they want. So some of them will say only send one take. And then some will say, please send multiple. So it gets tricky because you don't want to be the annoying person that's sending multiple, but then you also want to, give them what they want.
Yes.
And then also some of the, like I just did an audition yesterday. Some of the stuff they ask you to do is so crazy. Like I had this one where it was yesterday's audition. I had to do a couple scenes. One of them, I'm in an attic and then I come down and my legs are dangling and they're like, please perform the whole scene out. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to do this? So I'm like trying to get creative. Then it turns into one of the hard part is they're like, I'm standing the whole scene. And then I fall to the ground in the fetal position and make feral farm animal noises. What does that mean? First of all, what does that mean?
I don't know.
I have farm animals and I don't know.
You know what? Yeah. But feral farm animals is quite an interesting.
And also,
direction.
How do I do when we're standing and then they say fall to the ground? So now you have
tip down. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I ended up doing is I was on my knees and had the camera. So then when I fell to the ground, I could still fall and I'm still in the frame. Because I'm like, if I'm standing completely up, because I was like, it was someone holding like a gun to my head or something. So I was like, I could be on my knees and they're holding the gun to my head. But it was crazy. I'm like, sometimes some of the stuff that in the directions, you're like, whoa, how am I going to do all this? So it's kind of crazy.
Like I said, like I don't envy you. I don't envy you. That's not a life for me. That would drive me nuts. The thing I wanted to share was so on this last movie that we're making this Voltron live action Voltron for Amazon MGM, we had a bunch of young actors that we had to cast, young roles, right? Like early 20s to early 30s, and there's the lead role for our hero, and we threw the widest net out there, and there was one actor who Scottish. His name's Daniel Quinn Toy, fabulous actor, Rada kid, I believe. Sent in his tape, and he's never been in a movie before, never been in anything, and his tape was great. And then his callback on Zoom, great. And we flew him out to Los Angeles with 3 or 4 other potential options for the lead. And we did an old school screen test, right? We had our lenses, we had the sets, we did the whole thing. And he was amazing. He was just absolutely amazing, and won the role fair and square, and by a good margin, right? There's no doubt about it. But what I think is so cool about that is that this is a $100 million movie, right? Big budget movie, and Amazon is willing to bet on this young actor who's never been filmed before, never been on film. This is his first role. And I think that's awesome, that it's still a meritocracy, that you can still win a giant job by the quality of your work and your performance, which is pretty rare. So I guess I would say that as tough as it is, as weird as feral farm animal sounds are, there's still a chance to land that role that'll change your life.
I mean, I love that story because like that's very inspiring because it really is. It's one yes. You need one yes, someone like that to take a chance on you. And like that's amazing that this guy has, doesn't have an IMDb with 75 credits and is booking $100 million movie. Like that's insane.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it might literally be insane, but he's fantastic in the film, and I sleep well at night knowing that he's the lead. He's amazing, and it can happen. That. It can happen.
Yeah, because like I said, people don't see all the the stuff that you go through and the struggles and this and the the amount of classes that you do and the amount of time. They just see when you book something.
Yeah, exactly.
Which. Exactly. Like you said, you do one movie every 3 years. I'm doing, I did 400 auditions and I've probably booked 20 of them. So it's like people see the little snips here and there, but they don't see how much work you're putting in day in and day out. So Another thing I think that's really impressive about your career is that you've gone from like, one of the funniest movies ever to,
Thank you.
super high action, Red Notice,
Hmm.
Skyscraper, to now
Hmm.
you're kind of going into some of like the fantasy world.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's like a huge range. And what is, how do you jump from different genre to genre, and how do you even prepare to go from, because I would assume it's got to be a little different going from Dodgeball to Voltron.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think it goes back to the writing side. I think being able to write my own ticket helps quite a bit.
Hmm.
Um, and and I think that in if you look at just these films, so I made Dodgeball, and then and then I made a tiny little drama called The Mysteries of Pittsburgh, based on a Michael Chabon novel that nobody saw, unfortunately. It's a longer story for another podcast. And then I made a movie called We're the Millers, which is R-rated family road trip comedy. And and so in We're the Millers, there was a little bit of action. There was some gunplay. There was a car chase, sort of, and a little bit of action. And then I went from that to Central Intelligence, which was a Kevin Hart, Dwayne Johnson movie, and that was a comedy that had more action in it. Right, there were guns, there was a shootout, there was a car chase, there's some explosions, so a little bit more action. And then the bigger leap was from Central Intelligence to Skyscraper, which is a straight action film, but I'd done action in Central, so I kind of had some experience with storyboards and previs and stunts, and a little bit of visual effects. And then you go into Skyscraper, and it's full action, stunts, visual effects, and then going into Red Notice, which is more action comedy than Skyscraper. But I'd done straight action, I'd done action comedy, and then this was sort of like action comedy writ large, right? Big
Hmm.
movie stars, globetrotting. And now the Voltron is very much a sci-fi fantasy film, so not a comedy, but huge visual effects film. But Red Notice had a lot of visual effects, just because we had to, because of COVID, and some of them worked well, some of them were very painful. But we had to change everything about halfway through. We couldn't go around the world. We had to build everything in Atlanta, but we had to use visual effects to help us. So I sort of built the bridge, plank by plank and brick by brick. Um, but I guess so that's the technical side of it, how you learn how to do it. And the other thing I would say is, as opposed to comedy, when you're doing action or visual effects, you have so much support, right? There are so many people who are experts to help you, right? You have a stunt coordinator, you have a visual effects supervisor, you have special effects, all there. You have previs, you have storyboards, you have all these people who are helping you, and all you need to be able to do is communicate the vision, right? I want it to feel like this. I want it to look like that. This sequence in this film, it's like that, but with this twist or that thing. So you're talking to these people, and they're experts at their craft, and they're there to help you do it, right? So you're not
Hmm.
by yourself. And because when you're dealing with special effects, visual effects, stunts, they have to be safe, and there's so much planning that goes into, when you blow up the car, right? That you've talked about it so much that on the day it's just execution, right? It's not when the car blows up, oh, could it blow up funnier? Like, it doesn't. That's not the thing. But
Right.
on the comedy side, when you're doing comedy, that is a little more um, tense for me, because that's up to me. Like, my little tuning fork has to go off to go, oh, I like this. And if it's not working, I can't turn to the stunt coordinator and go, hey, man, how do we make this funnier? That's on me and the actors. Like, that I have to do myself. And then there's much less support there. So in a strange way, the visual effects side and the action side, I don't want to say it's easier, but you're not alone. You have a lot of help there, and there's lots of preparation and planning. That's the technical side of it. On the creative side, I grew up loving all kinds of movies. I loved comedy, as I think is evidenced by my career, but I also loved swashbuckling action films. As everybody does, I love Raiders of the Lost Ark, high watermark for me, Jaws, and all these films. So to me, like, if somebody says, "Hey, do you want to go see this movie?" I don't say, "What genre is it?" I only see comedies. Sorry, I love all kinds of genre, right? In all kinds of different movies. For me, you know, I've been interested in telling other stories in other genres, and I think it's interesting and fun. Probably not the best career choice, I would say. If you know, if your goal is to have a brand or maybe make more money, it would be wise to kind of have a brand. So like if you look at like the Fairley Brothers have a brand. Like when you talk about a Fairley Brothers movie, you know what it's going to be. We talk about an M. Night Shyamalan movie, you know what it's going to be. You know, Marvel movie, you know what it's going to be.
Right.
Um, so Hitchcock, you know, obviously was Frank Capra, although he didn't enjoy being pigeonholed. But if you embrace that thing, right, then you become that brand, right? So if I'm Hitchcock, then when I say, hey, do you want to go see the new Hitchcock movie? You know what you're going to get, right? You're going to get a tense thriller with a great ending. Shyamalan, it's another thriller with a twist, right? That sort of thing. So if you want to have a Fairley Brothers movie, you're going to laugh yourself stupid, and it's going to have some pretty, you know, ribald jokes. So the idea of branding yourself as a filmmaker is super can be super powerful. That's just not something I cared to do or really thought to do. I just liked what I liked and kind of followed my heart, followed my passion, just because it takes me so long to do these things. So I hope that answered the question, but that's kind of
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like your evolution of, you know, going from movie to movie was almost kind of, you did it yourself, of like, okay, I'm gonna you started with comedy, and then I'm gonna dip my toes, and there's a little bit of action, and then a little bit more, and now a little more, and now it's, you know, going into
Yep.
fantasy. And I think, you know, like you said, the comedy kit is almost even harder because it's more pressure on your shoulders, whereas
It seems it to me, yeah.
the VFX, you're like, okay, this is what needs to happen. Team, make that
Yeah.
happen. You
Yep.
know, like
Yeah. I mean,
you're
a little bit, right?
through
Yeah.
that.
I mean, yeah, yes, of course. And you're still having to manage, you know, the budget part of it, which is a whole other conversation
Oh
and a
yeah.
whole other skill set. But yeah, you get, and if you have the right people, and I've been so lucky to work with just fabulous craftsmen and women, you know, editors and VFX, you know, supervisors, that they're there to help you, and they can help bring this thing alive. So yeah, it's but when it's comedy, it's like it's you and you and the actor, and you hope you guys are on the same page. Yeah.
So Red Notice, huge movie. I think it's like one of Netflix's most watched movies ever.
Mhm.
What is your opinion? Because for me personally, I don't know if it's because I'm an actor or just in general, I love going to the movie theater. You know, I
Mhm.
love going to the theater. I love, you know, getting junk food, being in the dark room, the giant screen, all the things. COVID obviously kind of changed some of that. And I feel like movie theaters haven't fully bounced back since COVID, because now we have 75 streaming services that we're paying for. And, you know, like if a movie comes out, let's just say Disney, it's like, am I going to go to the theater? Well, next month it'll be on Disney Plus. Like, we'll just wait and see it. You know, so it's become, I don't know. I feel like the movie theater has kind of lost some of its oomph. And Red Notice was, you know, a huge movie that went straight to streaming. Whereas, you know, 10, 15 years ago, that for sure would have just been a huge movie theater movie. So what is your thoughts and opinions around streaming versus theater? Which do you like better? Like, where do you land on that? Obviously you've done both.
Yeah, yeah, I've done both, and it's a really good question. Something lots of people are talking about, and I won't say struggling with, but grappling with maybe.
Yeah.
And well, starting at the Red Notice and Netflix, I've had an incredible experience there. The audience, the size of the audience for Netflix is really hard to explain to people. I don't think most people understand how big the Netflix audience is. It is massive. More people watched Red Notice on its opening weekend than had seen all of my other films combined.
Wow.
Full stop. So the first weekend of Red Notice, just the first weekend, the first 3 days, more people watched that movie than watched everything else I've ever made in its entirety, and its theatrical run ever. And
That's
so
crazy.
if it's crazy, right? So when you're talking about, if you're a storyteller and you want your story to be seen and experienced by the maximum amount of people, right? Then there's no conversation. Netflix is number one by a large margin, Disney Plus as well, and Amazon. Netflix right now, you know, in a walk. Now, when you talk about cultural impact, that's a different thing, right? When Red Notice came out, my phone and inbox was blown up. More people saw it because they didn't have to go out, right? And
Mm.
other movies, I had friends like, "Oh, I missed it. I'm going," and you know, da 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 da. Not that's just an anecdotal experience, but what I think has been interesting is that the cultural impact of streaming film doesn't appear to be as resonant as the theatrical experience. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Because when first of all, when you want to see something so much that you will leave your house, park your car, buy a ticket, buy the junk food, sit in a room with your phone off for 2 hours,
Yeah.
like that's a commitment, right? You're making a commitment, and that's an experience. And a lot of times you'll get that experience with other people. It's a totally different value proposition, right? And it's a totally different threshold that you have to cross, right? The theatrical experience. And as you see now, what's becoming theatrical can only be event films, right? There are very few sort of mid-budget films that get released. They all go to streaming. So like that's another conversation for another time. So when you go to the theater to see something, it can have, and usually does have, more resonance in the culture, right? Whether that's Barbenheimer, whether that's F1 or Superman or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting, I think, though, is when you talk about streaming television, it's a different deal, right? Because streaming television on Netflix or Amazon or whatever, that seems to be able to grab people, and that's because I think you're making a commitment. It's a different kind of commitment, but you're committing 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours to something, right? As opposed to 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever. And that commitment, if you love something and you're watching, all the episodes of The Diplomat, or I just finished watching Quarterback on Netflix, which is one of my favorites, then you've invested time and yourself into it, the same time that you would take to go drive to the theater and you want to share that if you love it, right? And I think that's why Netflix and streaming television series have cultural resonance in a way that it seems like the films don't as much, unfortunately, and why they break through. But that's just my theory.
Yeah, because it's like, we watch all these limited series, and really it's an 8-hour movie is what it is.
Yes,
But
correct.
it's broken up, so then we feel like, oh, we can just watch one episode tonight and we'll pick up tomorrow, or you binge it all and you watch it all in one night.
Yeah.
But there is something, like I think you said, about, driving your car, and going to the movies is not cheap anymore. You know what I mean? If you want to bring a family of 4 to the movies, like it's $100. So it's like you're committing to like paying for it, getting the food. My only issue with the movie theater is I can't stand when people are talking or they're on their phones.
Awful.
So I am the one. I will shush people. I'm
Good.
like, I have no issue. Like the other day,
Good.
there was a girl. She was Snapchatting in the middle of a movie, and I go, is that
man.
like what? Why?
No.
Go home.
No.
If you're go home, like don't do that.
Don't ruin it for. I'm so with you, man. That is a huge pet peeve for me as well. You're doing the Lord's work, Ben.
Seriously. I mean, so I'll go to movies, but like I will never go to a movie on a Friday night. I will never go to a movie on opening night. Like it's always like a matinee, like 2 p.m. when there's not a lot of people there. Because I love the theater experience, but the people drive me crazy.
What is that? Hell is other people, Jean-Paul Sartre. Yeah, I think that's right. I completely agree. I mean, there are times where I want to see it with a big crowd, like a comedy. I'd love to see with a big crowd. They don't come out in the theaters as much anymore, but like The Naked Gun with a big crowd was awesome. Superman, I didn't get a chance to see it with a big crowd, but I'd want to see it with a big crowd. Like there are certain films.
There's certain movies with the energy,
guy, but
yeah. I think the last one I saw was the Jurassic World, and that one,
play?
It was good because you had all these. I mean, people weren't talking on their phones, but you had the oh my gosh and the reactions of people, which that part I love, like the energy of it. I love. It's the distractions or the
cool.
No, that part drives me nuts.
Yeah, and then can I ask you another question? When you go to the theater, do you plan to show up 25 minutes late so you don't have to watch all the commercials?
I love the commercials.
You're a sick man. You are unwell.
No, I get mad. I tell AJ I don't want to miss the preview. I love the previews.
Really?
Yeah, I don't love
not the previews, but there's like commercials. Like
that part I don't like.
Okay, when it's like the previews for the upcoming
movies, yes. And I never want to miss the opening scene of a movie.
Me neither. The opening scene of a movie. Sorry, my camera's a little screwy. The opening scene of a movie is like the first line of a novel for me. Like that tells me so much. Like what are they choosing to be the first shot?
Yeah, it tells like the last movie. Well, the movie that I've seen multiple times recently in theaters was Wicked. I saw it like 8 times in theaters.
Oh yeah, my friend John made that movie. He's such a wonderful guy, great filmmaker.
I am so excited for part 2. But the beginning of Wicked there's so many things in there that if you're not paying attention, you're missing so much stuff.
Yes,
right there.
Yes. We're having that same challenge on Voltron is that there's so much lore to get to get in place so that you can watch the film, that you're gosh, if somebody showed up 5 minutes late to Voltron, they would be lost.
Yeah, you miss a bunch of it. Okay, so I'm gonna start to wrap this up a little bit, but
Okay.
what advice do you have for upcoming writers, directors? Because I know that there's a ton of people out there that want to do what you do, and I know that you started just writing. So, what advice could you give to someone that's like either wants to do it, trying to do it, struggling to do it, all the things?
Sure. Well, there's basically 2 pieces of advice that I would offer up. If you're just starting and I'm just talking about writer directors, right? So if you're writing a script that you are going to direct, right? The thing to really consider is the sort of marketplace and the economics of it. So if you are writing an original sci-fi opera, right? Sci-fi fantasy opera that's going to cost $60 to $160 million that you're going to direct, you should stop now. That is not going. You are making it harder than it should be, right? So the idea is there's a bullseye, right? Tiny bullseye, and you've got one dart, and what you want to do is to make that bullseye as big as possible. And the way to do that is to get as close to the bullseye as you can before you throw your dart, right? And every decision you make will either have you take one step further from the dartboard or one step closer. So if you're saying like I'm writing $100 million action film that I'm going to direct and I've never done anything, you are taking many steps away from the dartboard and turning your back to it, and you're going to fling it over the top, right? So what you want to choose are genres or films, genres that are not expensive to make. Comedy, horror, thriller, these genres are very good, especially if you can do them. A small drama, quirky drama, things that aren't expensive to make, right? So that's one. When you're wanting to be a writer director for the first time. The other is if there's any way to make a short film that is tonally congruent with the feature that you want to do. That helps a lot, so that you have a little bit of evidence that you know where to put the camera and you have a tone. So if you have a comedy script, don't make a horror short film and say, hey, look at this, right? Make a horror short film with a horror script, right? And this goes back. The Coens did the same thing with Blood Simple on their first film. Like they shot a trailer for the movie before they went and made the movie. So that's one piece of advice. Get as close as you can to the dartboard. Pick things that are cheap to produce if you're trying to get somebody to believe in you and back you. So that's one piece of advice. The other is to me at least, that success kind of basically there's 3 elements I found to success, and it's hard work, luck, and talent, right? Probably in equal measure. And there's really only one of those things that you can control, which is hard work. And that's kind of what I've hung my hat on. Like, I'm not as talented as other filmmakers, but I work really hard. And there's no substitute for that. And the harder you work, the luckier you get. And that's kind of it. So, you put your ass in the chair and work on the script. And that's the best I can offer. So pick your target the right way and work your ass off.
I love that. I think that applies even to actors too, actually, because everything you were saying, I'm like that. Actually, that goes to actors too. That probably goes to anyone in the entertainment. Actually, anything
for sure. Like it's already hard, right? It's already hard. So don't make it harder on yourself. That doesn't help.
No,
I know that sounds silly, but that's the truth.
Okay, so to wrap this up, I just have some quick fire questions. Just ask
Yeah,
whatever first thing comes to mind. It's super easy.
sure.
What is one movie people think you love but you actually can't stand?
Oh God, I wish I got these in advance. Oh no. Wait. One movie that people think I love?
Yeah, or think you would love, or like, well, he's got to love this movie, but you can't stand it.
Oh God, can I come back to that one? Oh,
Yes. Yeah, we'll come back.
okay. Sorry. Okay, sorry.
Okay, you've worked with people like Kevin Hart, The Rock, Ryan Reynolds. Who's the funniest actor you've worked with off camera?
Funniest off camera. Oh my God. Well, Kevin's just, I mean, an assassin. Boy, there's a couple. Nick Offerman is incredibly funny. Ryan Hansen is incredibly funny. Kevin Hart, like, he'll just kill you. Ryan is really funny, but he's not like super funny off camera. He's just he's a wonderful guy, but he's not like he's not trying to make you laugh. Although if you listen, he's real subtle with it. He can get you. I guess I would say probably Catherine Hahn is like one of my favorites.
Okay. Do you read reviews or do you avoid them?
I avoid them. It's super painful. My movies are not reviewed very well typically. The audiences seem to like them quite a bit, which is who I'm making them for, and the critics don't like my work very much, and that's really hard. It hurts every single time. And I don't read them. I when Dodgeball was about to come out, I asked Ben Stiller about reviews, and he said, "Oh, I don't read them." And I said, "Why?" He's like, "Well, because the good ones I don't agree with, and the bad ones I do, or the good ones I don't believe, and the bad ones I agree with." And I think that's pretty well said. So I try to not read reviews. You get a sense of it. My wife's like, "Don't read the LA Times," and I'm like, "What did they say?" So it's super duper painful. I remember when Miller's was coming out and we were getting bashed in the reviews. Before the film had come out, I was talking to an executive at the studio, and they said, "Look, the only thing bad reviews hurt are the director's feelings." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm the director. Like,
Right.
yes, but
But that's me.
yeah, that's me."
Yeah.
So look, every artist of is hurt by criticism, and it's just part of the deal. And I've gotten to a point where my skin is thick enough that it hurts, but you move on.
I mean, most of my favorite movies, honestly, have like 15-20% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I don't trust that shit.
That's a whole other conversation. Rotten Tomatoes and film critics, but you could go back throughout I mean, I'm sure there's in ancient Rome. There's I'm sure Plato's complaining about critics. That
Right.
It doesn't take a great mind to criticize.
Right. First thing you notice about an actor in an audition?
Their eyes.
Nice. Yeah. Biggest pet peeve on set?
Oh, tardiness. Anybody, it's not allowed. People being late, can't have it.
Yeah. What's one thing that actors should do to make a director love them?
Oh, well, this is what a great question. Being game for anything. Like, to me, I have the same conversation with every actor before the film starts, whether you're number one on the call sheet or whether you're number 15 on the call sheet. Is I expect three things from an actor: punctuality, preparedness, and play. Which is you're on time, right? You know your lines, and that you're ready with ideas. You're ready to play. You're ready to try stuff, and I think the things I love most about actors is a willingness to try something and a willingness to trust that I'm not going to make you look like a fool. So if you're willing to, if I'm like, hey, maybe try this, that you're game to give it a go, a real go, not sandbag it, not half-ass it, but like, I know it's weird and you're out on a tightrope, but just trust me, I'm not going to make you look stupid, unless that's the idea. Then I will absolutely make you look stupid.
Right.
If we're trying to do that together. So actors who are there to give you everything they've got and are willing to play.
And I think that's the most fun part about being on set is when you show up ready to do your thing, and then it's like, actually, let's try it this way, and it's because I think it's a whole collaborative experience.
Yeah,
at least it should
be. Why
be.
wouldn't you? Yeah, it should be. You're exactly right. But why wouldn't you? Like, you've spent all this money, you've flown you out there, you're in costume and makeup, and we've got all these cameras and lights, and we've spent all this money, and here we are. Why would you only do it one way?
Right.
That seems crazy to me. Like I don't need 6 takes of the same line. Give me, like, let's do something else. And I love actors who there's plenty of actors who just sort of every line is just a different intonation, a different spin, a different read. It's my favorite.
The commercial I just did, one of the people kind of maybe lied about some of the. We were riding horses down the beach, and
I can ride a horse.
yeah. So
I grew up riding horses.
one of the people may have not fully been honest on their resume, and which was not me, obviously. So the director came up to me and was like, he was like, I think we got to switch it. Can we do this, this, this? And I'm like, boom, let's do it. So that turned into me walking down the beach to running through the ocean with water splat. Like they changed the entire commercial on a whim because they had to. And the director was like, thank you so much. I was like, let's do it. Oh my
God. The director, that's the greatest thing, Ben. Because if you can just for a moment, put yourself in the director's shoes, right? And they're there, the meter's running, little cartoon smoke dollar signs are wafting into the sky every second. And if there's a problem, if the actor is like a can do, and let's go for it, like that is just, you want to hug him. You're so grateful for that sort of support. Actually. I bet he did. I bet he did.
And at one point he goes, we could not have done this commercial without you. And I said, you know what? I agree.
It'll work forever.
I said, I agree. You could not, because it was, I mean, these horses were not trained. These horses were taking off. I mean, it was like, and we were in the Dominican Republic, which is why I wasn't in LA, in the end of the month last time. But we had crazy weather, so we had to stop for weather. I mean, it was like all the things that could go wrong. It was literally the perfect storm. So, well,
you'll work for it, Ben. You'll work forever if that's how you do it. You'll work forever. That's the greatest. I'm so happy.
Your mouth to the universe. Hopefully, the universe makes that happen. What is a movie you've watched more than 10 times?
Oh, a million. Bull Durham, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Sullivan's Travels, Hoosiers. Gosh, I mean, so many. Keep going.
So there's a lot.
Star Wars.
I just rewatched all the Star Wars movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Favorite villain of all time?
Hans Gruber, maybe. Alan Rickman in Die Hard. He's got to be up there for me. Then Darth Vader.
Of course. A movie you wish you had directed?
God, there's so many. I mean, just so many where I'm like, I think Tim Miller's Deadpool, I think, would be up there for me. He did such a beautiful job, and that's just that tone I really love. I would say that Mark Waters made a movie called Mean Girls, which I just absolutely adored. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, would be up there. I remember I was cutting Dodgeball, and I went to see Mean Girls in the theater. And I've told Mark this story, and I didn't know this because I'd never made a feature before. But it's super. I don't know if it's dangerous, but I can't think of another word. It's really, it can be dangerous to go see a finished film when you're cutting yours, because that movie has gone through its process, and it's finished, and it's mixed, and it's been and your movie's in parts on the garage floor, right? And so I went to go see Mean Girls, and it's so funny, and it's so well done. And I left that theater just absolutely depressed and despondent. Like, what am I doing? I should just hang them up. So yeah, Mean Girls up there for sure.
Okay. So the final and I think most important question, is there ever a chance of Dodgeball 2, and can I be in it?
I'll take them backwards. Yes and no. So, well, I'll say this, that I think I've said everything I needed to say about adults playing dodgeball in one film. I managed to nail it for myself. Yeah, I think it's I appreciate that question. I get it frequently, and it means a lot that people would want to see more. And I love White Goodman is one of my all-time favorite characters, and Ben is the best, and he's so funny, and that. But I don't know. I guess I just feel like you can never go home again.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of that film that I just wouldn't want to do anything to kind of sully it, I suppose.
Maybe we can do softball.
I'm up for others. Like, I'm a big sports fan, so like, if we want to do a softball comedy, like let's.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. I know you are like extremely busy, so thank you for taking the time. I want everyone to go follow you and watch all your movies. And your next big movie coming out will be Voltron.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
when can we expect that to be coming out?
They haven't dated it yet. We're still working on it. We will finish the film in the spring. I think we deliver it April 1, so it'll be done then. And I haven't decided when they want to release it or whether it's streaming or theatrical and when. So that's still being decided by the powers that be at Amazon MGM.
Well, we're all going to be watching for it. And thank you again. I really, really appreciate it. And
it's awesome.
this
It's
was
been a
great.
week.
It's been a week. So for everyone else, I will see you next Tuesday. Thank you for listening to that episode of It's Been a Week, but don't touch that dial because it's not over yet. Get ready for the after show. Been there, done that with AJ. Well, we're going to get AJ's take on whatever the fuck I just said. And we're back. Been there, done that with AJ.
Hello.
Hello.
Love the jacket.
Well, this jacket is actually a gift from Rawson.
I remember.
We were at a party, and I don't...
It was Sarah's birthday?
No. Was it? Oh, maybe. It was...
I think it might have been.
I don't know, but Rawson loves to... When he's done for the night, he's like, Ben, you take care of... His wife's name is Sarah. He's like, you take care of Sarah. So I'll take her, and we'll dance the night away. And I was like, I knew that this is not a jacket Rawson was ever going to wear again. And I was like, I want the jacket. And so when he was done with it for the night, he signed it actually on the inside and then gave it to me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So I figured for the after show of Rawson's episode, I should wear this. I should have wore it for the full interview.
It would have been amazing. It's fabulous. I want to talk about him, but before we do, I want to talk about you giving credit or not credit time to this Kim Davis girl.
Oh,
do not give her no more time. We're not even going to spend time. I'm just going to say, don't give her time. Move on.
She's the worst.
Who cares?
But like such an ugly, you don't get to be ugly and be a bitch.
No, I'm moving on from her.
But pick a lane.
I don't even, she doesn't exist. That episode with Rawson was amazing. It
was good, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously it's fun to listen to someone that you know, right? And because you'll get to a depth of them that you know is there, but you don't experience as often, right? So it was just wonderful to listen to him talk about what makes him so excited in life, right? And and the intellect that he has around it. And from I think the experiences that he's had, but also because he's such a good study of what he loves. Like you can tell, like he's speaks the theory around the work and really understands the craft of what he's doing. And he's done so much, but you can still feel like his importance around doing things well.
Yeah.
You know, I love that about him.
I mean, do you remember we were on that boat trip with him in the Caribbean? And we would be like, you know, drinking all day. And he was like so laser focused. He would go in I'd wake up in the morning. He was the first person awake in that room, in the dining room, like working away. Yes, he would come and have fun and go to all the things. But like when there was downtime, he was like working on that script. And I think he actually like finished a draft of the script.
Yeah, I remember that. He talked about in the episode too about talent, luck, and hard work. And the only thing that you really can control is the hard work. And he proves that, you know, like I can say knowing him that is true.
Yeah.
But I loved hearing you both speak because I know that you're as passionate about what you do and the work that you put into acting. And it was really awesome to listen to you both speak. I really loved the part where he asked if you had ever been on the other side. And I thought that really showed such a different part of you to be able to recognize what it was like to be on that side.
Right.
And, you know, for Rawson or for directors, not that they need to do this, but it could be amazing for them to have to go through the other side of that experience. It clearly he understands it, the way he talks about it and the challenge and like not ever wanting to have to go through what you go through as an actor. But, and I'm sure that in a way they do that. Like as a creative, you immerse yourself into something. As a writer, he's probably going into moments where he's reflecting on what he's written to think about how could someone actually say this and deliver it.
Right.
When you guys were talking about, you know, delivery and recognizing that.
Well,
sometimes
he plays all the characters in his head when he's writing.
Right.
So it's like he has to have some sort of, I don't think he wants to be an actor, but he has a understanding and a grip of the craft of acting.
Yeah,
You'd have to be able to write it.
I like it. I really hope that people, maybe this will be a good clip for you. I really hope that people take time to listen to the entirety of this episode because, one, most people know his movies.
Right.
They've seen them and love them, obviously. Like, they're huge movies. But when you take the time to listen to the episode, I think it's going to make you love them even more because you understand where they come from
Yeah.
and you understand the love that is poured into them. That when you go to the movies, like when he talked about when he was young and he went to the movies and he would leave and his mother asked him about which scene was your favorite and how that sparked something in him to then begin his journey to fall in love with making film. I think listening to this episode could really inspire people to, yes, enjoy the entertainment factor of the movie because at the end of the day, that's what it's being created for the consumer.
Yeah.
But like thinking back to when we were in high school or even in college and they'd have you watch Hitchcock or watch a old famous film and you'd have to talk about the cinematography and talk about why they made those choices. I don't know if every school did that, but I did that. I love that. It reminded me about how we can just get lost in the joy and the entertainment, which is totally fine and worthwhile. But there's so much more to discover. And I think that
I think even when I'm watching movies or TV, like, yes, I'm watching and enjoying it, but then there's always in the back of my head, I'm like, ooh, this was a hard scene to film. I go,
Right.
oh, this was really, I mean, how many times I go, this is expensive to make?
Yeah. And like, listen, I also will argue against myself to say that when you open yourself up to that kind of perspective, because I remember this from the time in school where we had to do that work, you look at things differently.
Yeah.
But I can still watch a movie and completely enjoy it today and not do that.
Oh,
right?
yeah. But I just will think, I'm like, oh, the actors had to do this, or oh, that was a tough shot to get. Like, I'm still enjoying it, but my brain is still also thinking that way. I also thought it was crazy because something you don't realize is like, he's like, I only do one movie every 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's how much it takes to, and as a director, it's totally different. He's like, as an actor, you show up, you do your week, couple days, whatever it is, and then you go off and you do your next thing. He has to invest like the prep, the writing, the shooting, the post, there's so
He's
many,
on the whole journey.
the
Not
whole
everyone
journey.
is that's involved in it, as you know, but he is.
But there's a lot, and I think that it's, we think it's tough to make it as an actor. Try a director. Like I was saying, there's only one director per project.
Right.
For an actor, there's the way more opportunity, even though it's really hard to make it.
Did you hear him say when he talked about Wicked that John's his friend?
I know.
Do you remember how he reposted my video of my birthday party to page and how I was like, oh my God, the director of Wicked reposted it.
I know, Rawson, can you hook us up with Wicked 2, like for good? Can we somehow get
hello, I love to sing. I should do a little ditty inside one of those movies.
Come on, Rawson.
I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm so glad that you both were able to find the time to do it.
Well, I think too, like we've known Rawson for so long and we just know him as like Rawson.
Right.
And we knew he's a director. But like then when you really like when I was really like prepping for this and doing research, I'm like, fuck, like he's a big deal. Like huge movies. Like I mean, again, I knew that knowing him and being his friend, but like I don't know, I don't think about that when I'm sitting with him at a dinner or when we're at a birthday party, we're doing something. I'm not like, oh God, he's a big deal. But then when I was like getting ready for these interviews, I was like, fuck, like $100 million movies, like huge, like this, I mean, The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, Kevin Hart, Gal Gadot, like just Jennifer Aniston, just huge A-list actors that he works with. And it's like, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, personally, on the professional side of what I do, I think that one, being able, again, like listening to this episode for people that love movies or love those movies, being able to hear him talk about them or any director. Like if you take the time to go and explore who they are, the person that we know, right? The way you're talking about him as a friend, there's people have so much dimension to who they are, right? And you get to experience them as that when you're friends with people, even just any friend that's not a director, right? And then when you get to learn about what they love and hear them talk about it, wow, you can go into such a deeper place of just intrigue.
Yeah.
And of course we already have the the joy of friendship and fun and energy, which is important, and just spending time together. But yeah, then when you really go deep into what he is and what he does professionally, it's astounding that he's made such culturally moving movies.
Yeah.
You know, like he talked about. And I love too that I think he I think he there was quite a few moments where he was like, great question, which I think is awesome for you to be able to keep doing this and learn how to ask great questions. Because that makes the podcast that much more exciting. But when you talked about Red Notice, and he talked about how within the first day, more people had watched that than had ever watched any of his movies combined.
All together.
But what I loved that he then talked about was the cultural impact. And I think that's really interesting because it's like social media now, right? Like people have these videos that they put out, and 48, 72 hours later, they got 18 million views on them, 20 million views, like 175 million views, right? And people buzz about it, and it has a moment, but it oftentimes can fade quickly because of
How
it
fast
not having, and it doesn't have that impact. And it was just cool listening to him talk about the theater and the way that the theater still creates that. That being said, I think he went into the choices we make to sit on the couch to still experience and what that can change inside of us culturally. And I mean, this is the shift of the world. I just hope that as we do evolve, that the theater experience
continues.
Yeah. Maybe it already is evolving in the way you go, and they have seats that move and shit that sprays on you and all that, and that's fun and cool. But going and experiencing that is so important, just like it is a concert.
Right.
Just like it is.
I love going to the movies.
Yeah, I think anything that feels more live in a way, right, is really important, because otherwise we're just going to become, I don't know. I think the opposite of that is scary. So
yeah. And my only sad part was there's no Dodgeball 2.
Yeah, but I love that you're like, two-part question. One, you're going to do it, and two, can I be in it? He's like, I'm going to reverse the answer. Yes, you could be, but I'm not making it.
I mean, I had to take my shot. I'm like, come on. But, who knows? Maybe I'll have another comedy movie, and there'll be a perfect part. He did call me a strapping cowboy at the bar or something?
Yeah, I mean.
So, you never know.
And like he said about that kid that he was talking about with this new film.
Right.
Any of these things can happen. It takes that one audition and you doing it really well, and the person seeing your eyes. I loved when he said, when you asked him what's the first thing you recognize or see with the actor, and he said the eyes. I love that. It can just open doors. So really great episode.
Well, on to the next. I got to get this jacket off. It's getting hot. And we should go to a movie.
Yeah, let's do it. Keep on shining with that coat.
Mm-hmm. All right, everyone. I will see you next Tuesday.